Hey, what's up everyone? Today we're going to be talking about a module I made for D&D 5e based off the upcoming MMO by Amazon Games, New World. For those who aren't familiar, this new game is coming out. It takes place on the island of Aeternum, and it is in the 17th or so century, and it's this mystical MMO where you'll be taking on zombies called the Lost, or these corrupted beings, or these faction wars. And I thought, hey, this is the perfect setting for a D&D or a tabletop role-playing game. So I decided to make one because I wanted to, and I'm super pumped for the game, and I'm a huge fan of it. And I think it's a natural fit, and I'm a huge fan of the lore, and I thought like the lore and everything, which if you haven't seen my lore videos, quick lore plug there, but I'm a huge fan of the lore, and I thought it was like, hey, this could really make for an interesting story and things you could do with it, of this kind of island where there's these three factions warring against each other. You could do like a war campaign, or you could focus more on find the lost, which is like its kind of version of zombies or that kind of thing. Or you could take on the corruption, which is this evil force on the island, and kind of go through that mystery and adventure route, or anything else in between. And I thought the setting of kind of being in the 17th century in our own world was really interesting because you could be a newly crashed upon the shores character from the, pirate age, or you could be as far back as a Roman soldier who remembers nothing of the old world over the years of being immortalized on Aeternum, or whatever else you want to do. So I think there's just a lot of cool stories and characters, and a lot of crazy ways you can introduce the MMO elements like the crafting system and the faction system to really make a really fleshed out and new experience for 5e veterans or new world players who are wanting to try out a tabletop game. So with that being said, I made this. I'm really excited. We'll be going through it here in a minute, kind of talk about the things I created. As a quick note, I am not a master at making modules, so if you're familiar with D&D 5e and want to offer ideas to balance it or play test it, please do so and help me make this work best. And lastly, I will be running around a 5 session long campaign with this module. If you're interested in watching either me DM or just interested in seeing this module in play, if you're interested. That will be a video in the description below. The first episode, depending on when you're watching this, will be either tomorrow or first episode should be out Friday, September 10th. So if you're interested, be sure to check that out and see what you think. I'll be making some custom maps and using New World music and a lot of fun things. We have a really awesome cast of characters we'll be running with, and I think it'll be fun and also be only about 5 sessions long, so it'll be kind of on the shorter side if you're interested in watching some D&D and be a little quick taste to see what you like of it. So without further ado, though, let's go ahead and hop into the module. And I'll be hopping over here on this screen, right here. Boom. Over the New World MMO module, I'll be walking through. If you're actually interested in looking at this yourself, this module is linked in the description below. So just as a heads up. So, New World, welcome traveler from an antique land. Please sit and tell us what you have seen, the unheard of monsters who slither and bite. Tell us of the wondrous items and artifacts you have found. They're mysterious yet to be unlocked. Of the vexing vocations and surprising skills you have seen. Of course, thank you, Homebrew, for this amazing system. But this is what we'll be looking at. A couple basic lores here, but the big thing that is going to be noted is that we are altering a bit of the 5e system. So the way this game is going to work, and the way I styled this to be an overview, is I wanted to take 5e and I made kind of a new faction system, a new class system, sorry, that focuses on a class called the Aeternum Explorer, which Aeternum is the island the setting takes place on. The idea being is if you run this module, you theoretically should all have your characters being played as this class, and I can get through later on how this works. In the actual game of New World, for those who are unfamiliar, you basically, as you play the game, don't have classes, you have weapons in the game that kind of act as your class, and you can run two at a time. So you can be running around the world with a great axe and a hatchet combined, or you can run around with a life staff and a fire staff, or whatever combination you want to do. There's no limit on the weapon combos you can do, it's just two at a time. So on this note, some of these things will be working with that. And so we'll be having this class system that is based off of choosing two weapons, and we'll get through that. Additionally, with this Ultra system, we'll be running what's called an Azoth pool. Azoth is the magical substance within the New World game, but in this system, we're using it as a point system for being able to use abilities. So the core idea being is in this class, you'll pick two of the optioned weapons that'll be acting as your kind of your main core classes, or even like if you want to compare it to heavily 5e, like think of it like your subclasses being based on what weapons you have. And each of the weapons, you will get to choose between abilities you want to run with that weapon, that is chosen at the number you have available based off your level, and the number of Azoth points you have available based off your level. And so when you're in combat, you can either just normally attack with the weapon, roll the hit, roll the damage of the weapon, or instead for the action, you can choose to use an ability of the weapon. And I can go through the list of abilities here shortly. And when you want to use an ability of the weapon, you will use an Azoth point, which your pool of points is accumulated for both weapons. So if you have 4 points and you use an ability with your Great Axe, you're down to 3 points now. And you use one with your Life Staff, you're down to 2 points now. And on a short rest, that gets reset. Lastly, on the note of here, you can see death. On Aeternum, you are cursed with immortality, for better or for worse. Thus, when your character dies, you're actually going to roll a 1d100. If you roll what is if you roll what is equal to your character level times 3 or more, your character will respawn. So if you are level 5 and you have not died yet, and you die, you roll a d100, and if you roll a 15 or higher, you're fine. This will scale upwards, so if you die though, the next time you roll, it'll be times 4. So if you're still level 5, you die again, you'll have to roll, and if you get a 20 or higher, fine, but if you get less than 20, your character is permanently dead. And obviously, this will scale even more with your character level itself, so it's this balancing act that it's supposed to emulate how in the game, the longer you're on the island and whatnot, the more likely it is for you to become corrupted or lost and truly die and not resurrect. So it's a fun little system here that you can do, and also helps you throw some, as a DM, throw some really interesting combats at your players. Also, I am noticing like this half of my face has a shadow on it. I apologize, but you guys are focused on the module, not me, so that's okay. Lastly, on the take with backstories and everything, there are 3 factions in the New World game. I made a 4th faction just to give a neutral faction option for those who want to play it. It is the Soul Warden faction. The Soul Wardens are a group within the game of New World that you discover through the main story quest and all that stuff. It's a slight spoiler, I'm sorry if you haven't gotten there, but it's something that happens like the first 10 minutes of playing the game, really, so it's whatever. Or you could choose one of the 3 main factions, being the Covenant, Marauders, and Syndicate, and I'll get through all that. Additionally, there's a job system I've set up that's supposed to be a way for you to fill in downtime that involves crafting and gathering and that kind of stuff that emulates the MMO system of New World in a 5e system, and that's more open-ended, and we'll get to that soon. So let's go ahead and go through the character. This is a hit die of 1d8 plus your con. Your movement speed is going to be based at 30 feet. Depending on what armor you choose will adjust your movement speed, so just be wary of that. That's kind of how it works, since all the races are kind of going to be the same. Additionally, at the very beginning, you can choose 2 skills and 2 saving throws as proficiencies, and that's up to you. You have a lot of freedom with this build, so just be aware of that. You can choose whatever 2 skills proficiencies. And you can see here, this is the chart for levels. So level 1, you will have 1 weapon choice and your armor choice. At level 2, you'll choose your faction. At level 3, you will get your second weapon choice. At level 4, you get ability score improvement as well as a faction rank increase. There are ranks within each faction that as you get higher rank, as you level up, you'll get more benefits from the faction you chose, the factions being Marauders, Covenant, Syndicate, and Soul Wardens. At 5th level, you choose a job. Again, we kind of talked about that before. 6th, nothing happens. 7th level is the ultimate passive choice. Every weapon has 2 ultimate passives. You choose one or the other. Lasting effects from weapon abilities will stay as you swap weapons. So if you have a hatchet and you run the Berserk ability, that will last when you swap weapons. However, each weapon will have a passive that when you have that weapon equipped, you have that passive. When you swap weapons, you would no longer have that. And some of this will make more sense as I get into the actual abilities of weapons, so just bear with me. And then 8th level ability score, another faction increase. 10th level job improvement. 12th level ability score improvement. 14th level ultimate passive choice. So you'll get the second of the 2 ultimate passives. 15th job improvement. 16th ability score improvement faction rank increase. And 19th ability score improvement. As a heads up, as we go through the balancing of this, this class is supposed to be on the more powerful side, and you should not compare the balance and the strength of this class to the normal 5e classes, because if you're running this module, typically you would not have other 5e classes. You would have all your characters run this class, and so it's balanced around that idea. That being said, if you want to run other 5e, I can't run your game for you. Just be aware of that this was balanced with the idea of the classes, so to speak, being compared within each weapon. And then you can see on the right the abilities per weapon known and the Azoth points. So when you're at 3rd level, you have 1 ability per weapon known and 3 Azoth points, meaning of your abilities with both your weapons, you can cast or activate the abilities up to 3 times total, no matter which weapon you choose, right? And you can see the number of skills here, with the idea being once you get the 20th level, if you ever do get there, you have 5 abilities per weapon and 11 Azoth points, which means you would have a total of 10 abilities with 11 Azoth points. So that's the thing to keep in mind. So you have 2 abilities total, 1 per weapon here at the very... You can't see my mouse actually, which is something I should note now. But at level 1, you would have 1 ability per weapon. You would have 2 abilities total, just as a little idea. So let's go into the weapons. I'm going to take a drink of water as we scroll down. As I mentioned before, lasting effects from abilities stay persistent when active, despite if you swap weapons. If the time limit is not listed on the ability, it is 1 minute long. And then the ultimate passives, you choose one you want at 7th level, and then again at 14th. These are only active when that weapon is equipped. So the first weapon option, Sword and Shield. Sword and Shield is a martial frontliner. While the Sword and Shield is equipped, you gain a temporary +3 AC. When you choose this weapon, add 1 to your con and 1 to your strength. And every 5 levels, you choose an ability. The basic attack is a 1d20 plus strength plus proficiency to hit, and a 1d8 plus strength modifier damage. Abilities, there's a whirling blade where you spin your blade around, striking everyone. A leaping strike where you leap at a target between 10 to 30 feet from you, dealing 2d8, and this does not consume movement speed nor provoke opportunity attacks. If you run 10 feet prior, you increase the damage. Shield bash, you slam your enemy with the shield, dealing damage, and then make a con save or be stunned. Final stand, you buff your defense, gain resistance to all damage types for 1 minute. And reverse stab, you turn your body and make a stab with your sword in reverse. The attack is made with disadvantage, but if you hit, you regain 2 Azoth points. And then the ultimate passives are leadership. All allies within 10 feet of you deal an additional 1d4 damage, and defensive formation. All allies within 10 feet of you gain +1 AC. So again, the ultimate passives only work when that sword and shield is out. But however, if you do the shield bash and stun your enemy and then swap to your second enemy, weapon, that lasting effect, the stun, is still persistent. So just to clarify that. So that is sword and shield. And each one of these, as you can tell, is supposed to be based off of how a New World the weapon works, based off of it makes you a bit more tanky or utility or DPS, as well as I took the abilities from New World and tried to translate them to D&D. So all these abilities should be from the actual New World game. Anything that is not is something that kind of had the hybrid up because the weapon might not have offered enough abilities to create. Rapier is the master duelist, nesting their enemies into defeat before realizing it. You get +1 to your dex and 2 to your charisma. Your basic attack is 1d6 plus dex modifier, and your abilities, you have flurry, enter a post stance, unleash 3 quick thrust attacks, each dealing 1d4 plus dex mod. And if they fail a saving throw, they go to a bleeding state. A bleeding state is kind of the unique metric or the unique mechanic of the rapier, where when you're in the bleeding state, they have to repeat the save or they take more damage. I'm not kind of power through these actually, if that's all right. You guys can read through this. Flourish to finish is another quick one. Riposte is a defensive stance, etc., etc. I'm actually. I started reading the abilities. I'm not going to read through all the abilities. Just let you guys have a chance to read them on your own. If you want to get in, the link is below. The ultimate passive, though, is all damage from bleeding state is doubled, or after using an ability, next attack is made with advantage. So the unique mechanic of Rapier revolves around kind of this duelist fighting style, as well as the bleeding state that you can manipulate based on how you want to play the character. Hatchet is a mindless berserker, a master of the throwing axe, is best for those wishing to be bloodied. So this basic attack and abilities, you have the berserk state, feral rush, raging torrent, rending throw, and infected throw. There's fun mechanics you can do with the berserk state, which lets you make an additional attack with a bonus action, and some poison effects you can do, etc., etc. The ultimate passives being divide death. When you receive a lethal damage that would take you to 0 HP, roll 1d100. If you roll less than 2 times your character level, you stay up at 1 HP. Persistent hindrance, you buff all hindering effects. So raging torrent slow lasts for 3 turns, rendering slow lasts for 2 attacks, etc., etc. So those passive effects from your abilities will last twice as long. Next, we have Spear. A tactician warrior masters of the spear make precise attacks backed by unparalleled strength. Abilities, you have Cyclone, Sweep, Vault Kick, Javelin, and Masterful Insight. So the idea behind the spear is a mixture of intelligence and strength, being able to kind of decipher how your enemy fights and strike with precision and strength. Ultimate passives, while your Azoth is full or completed, you gain +2 to hit and damage on reserve strength. Or the second option is explorative weakness. Masterful skill with your spear has led to better precision strikes. All single target abilities now apply bleeding state. So if you want to go with the spear, you can also get that bleeding state effect. Warhammer, Juggernauts, and Crowd Crushers, these masterful beasts slam into their enemies into submission. You have Armor Breaker, Shockwave, Path of Destiny, Clear Out, and Wrecking Ball as your abilities. With the passives being Justice for All. When you successfully hit an enemy with an ability, you can use your basic attack to attack another enemy, or Persistent Hindrance. Whenever a target is affected by a crowd control effect by you, they are slowed until the end of their next turn. So the Warhammer is major on AoE and CC and that kind of idea. You have Great Axe, cutting into the air itself. Wielders of the Great Axe dominate with a fusion of magic and might. This is a Strength Wisdom class, with the abilities being Charged, Gravity Well, Execute, Maelstrom, and Reap. These being kind of a hybrid of these Restraining CC as well as kind of a more DPS class. With the ultimate passives being Bloodlust, you have doubled movement speed when you're moving directly towards an enemy, and Mauler's Fury. Add your Wisdom modifier to your base damage. Next, we have Bow. Quick on your feet and traditionalist. These snipers don't need modern technology to decimate their enemies. You have Evade Shot, Poison Shot, Rain of Arrows, Splinter Shot, and Penetrating Shot, with the ultimate passive being Bullseye. Whenever you critical strike, triple the damage instead of double, or Concussion. Abilities get enough power to daze enemies. When an enemy is hit by an ability, it makes a DC Wisdom saving throw or is frightened of the player till the end of their next turn. So again, the bow is kind of a mixture of this AoE damage with the Rain of Arrows and Poison Shot, as well as some fun ways you can really go more to the sniper route or this kind of fearful, monstrous route. Musket, Sharpshooters and Trappers to a fault. These master marksmen always hit their target. You have Powder Burn, Shooter Stance, Traps, Sticky Bomb, and Stopping Power as the abilities, with the ultimate passives being Sniper. You can shoot targets up to 300 feet with no disadvantage, or Lethal Combo. Attacking with the base shot after an ability is used grants you advantage. So if one turn you use an ability and the next turn you shoot with your normal basic attack, you have advantage on that basic attack. Fire Staff, this class is built around the idea of this burn ground mechanic, which you can read about. These are pyromancer to your core, your source of magic in the world through your Fire Staff to leave crisp enemies behind. You have Meteor Shower, Fireball, Incinerate, Hellfire, and Burnout as your abilities. With all leaves burn ground, which is something that if an enemy passes through burn ground, they take damage. And if you layer burn down, small explosions happen. So you can kind of do this large AoE CC and also a lot of map control with Fire Staff. Ultimate passive being Runes of Helios. Casting a fire spell lights a Rune of Helios inscribed on your staff. After 3 abilities, regain 1 Azoth or next attack / ability. Deals an additional 1d6 damage. So you can either get some points back or you can deal extra damage. Reheat, you can cause burn ground in the same location. Within a 5-foot radius, explosions occur, dealing 1d6 fire damage. So that's what I was talking about when you kind of cross these burn ground areas with the Fire Staff. You can cause these explosions to occur. And then 2 more. Life Staff, want to never leave your comrades behind to become lost or corrupted. You draw powers from the world to restore those wounded. This is a healing class. It's wisdom based. You have Orb Protection, Sacred Ground, Divine Embrace, Beacon, and Vengeful Healing. And then lastly, the passives are Divine Blessing. When healing an ally, if their health is below 50%, you can add an additional 1d6 dice to heal, and Magnify, gain advantage on concentration saving throws. Lastly, of the weapons is the Ice Gauntlet. Too comfortable with the cold, these icy wizards wish to press upon the powers of a blizzard and a craftsman. So there's Ice Pylon, Entombed, Ice Shower, Ice Storm, and Ice Spikes, with the ultimate passes being Ultimate Chill. All attacks and abilities on target will slow them until the end of their next turn, and Creator's Touch. Standing within 5 feet of summoned creatures or spells grants you advantage on basic attack rolls. So, a lot of abilities I decided to skip over. I understand that. Be sure to check out the link and read through the abilities yourself. But again, the idea being is you get 2 abilities and you can really play and make these creative builds that work with each other, work against each other, and how you manipulate the map and go into combat and fight against the various things you want to do. It's just a really cool kind of, in my opinion, way to kind of go across the classes that gives each weapon a bit more flavor beyond just what type of die damage it is. And I also wanted to reflect how the weapons work in the New World MMO, so for fans of that game, you can hopefully appreciate how it works here. Again, if you have any questions on these weapons or any comments in terms of balancing or anything like that, leave a comment on the video or send me a message or anything. This is a very much beta version of this module, so to speak, right? Ironically, we have the open beta starting tomorrow for New World, but this is a beta version of this 5e module, so it's not perfectly balanced, and there are things I will have to touch up on, and that's okay. You also at level 1 choose what type of armor you have. I wanted to reflect this on the playstyle and how it works in terms of New World, where if you rock light armor, this works and blah, 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 less defense, but more movement, that kind of thing. So I modulated it this way. So for light armor, you get AC is 10 plus your dex modifier. You gain the following features when using this armor class. You get 10 additional movement speed, and you get uncanny dodge. With those familiar with 5e, I don't know how that works, but when attack is made against you that hits that you can see, you can use your reaction to half the attack's damage. Medium armor is AC 12 plus your dex mod. Your movement speed is increased by 5, so not as much as the light armor, but not nothing. And you get expertise, so you can choose 2 skill proficiencies. Medium armor is kind of supposed to be a little bit of this middle ground, jack of all trades, so I thought it made sense to kind of go with the expertise for fun. And then lastly, heavy armor, your AC equals 18. Additionally, you lose 5 movement speed, so you're a bit slower, so you only have 25 movement speed. But when a creature, you get protection. When a creature you see attacks a target other than you within 5 feet of you, you can use your reaction to impose disadvantage on the attack roll. The idea being you're more of a heftier tankier class. That being said, there's no restrictions on weapons and armor. You could run heavy armor and then run life staff and ice gauntlet and be a wizard with this high AC that's shooting backline that has extra protection. Or you can, on the opposite side, run a hatchet great axe berserker build and go with light armor and have high movement speed with your low AC. Like, it's really up to you on the creativity on where you want to go with these builds, which I personally like a lot. Second to last is the faction decision. These will replace backgrounds in this build, and you have 4 options. And I will kind of go over briefly what they are. But Covenant, the Covenant is a fanatical order. Actually, I'm gonna start with this. Each faction, the way it works is our ranks within the factions. So you will get ranks within the faction. You gain with them, and as you level up, you gain these ranks. You will get proficiencies, and additionally, when you get each rank, there's a list of options for feats. These are feats from 5e that you can choose from. Each faction has a list of unique feats -1. Every faction has the feat option of Inspiring Leader. Otherwise, there are 3 options outside that you can choose from that are unique to the faction. That's the major aspect, as well as some proficiency aspects. And if you want to do the war route, it lets you choose different wars and that kind of stuff. So the Covenant is a fanatical order that has charged itself in cleansing the land of heretics and defilers, so that its truly holy nature can flourish and justice can be restored. You will get proficiency in insight and religion with this class, as well as you will get the options of the feats being elemental adept, observant, healer, or inspiring leader. And then as you level up with these, you can actually send NPCs in the battle. So when you are a Templar, you're no longer wet behind your ears, you're kind of listened to. When you become an Executor here, you get to gain the ability to send Covenant NPCs to battle up to 20 strong, or if you want the NPCs to join you directly, you can bring along 1 Templar or 3 Initiates. And that carries over the Lumen, you can do 1 Executor or up to 3 Templars. The idea being as you get higher level, you get higher NPCs to go along with you to these mega battles. Or then when you're illumined, you can send up to 50 NPC strong to a battle. So you can do this fun siege warfare gameplay if you want to go that route in your campaign. Marauders are ruthless military force bent on establishing a free nation where anyone with the strength to do so can prosper and profit. You get athletics and intimidation proficiencies, and you get to choose between grappler, savage attacker, athlete, or inspiring leader for the feats. And again, same system. You can send up to X amount of members of your faction to battle when you get to higher rank, and kind of have a lot of fun with a war campaign if that's the route you want to go with. Syndicate is a secretive organization of boundless guile and intellect in search of forbidden knowledge to usher in a new age of enlightenment. You get proficiency with stealth and history, and you get the feat options of keen mind, mobile, skilled, or inspiring leader. And again, I'm not going to repeat anymore, but send up to 50 strong when you're a cabalist, or up to 20 strong when you're a chronicler, or you can bring along NPCs of certain rank and value and quality, depending on your rank when you go out on quests if you want. And then lastly is Soul Wardens. Those familiar with the New World MMO recognize that this is not one of the usual factions, but I made this to be an independent faction outside of the three warring factions. So this is an independent faction if you wanted to focus more on corruption or lost, or at maybe a diplomacy campaign, you could go something like this. You gain proficiencies, or they are ancient defenders of Aeternum against the corruption. This faction is independent of the wars between the Covenant, Marauders, and Syndicate, acting to make sure their overarching focus is still towards freeing Aeternum of its curse. You gain proficiencies in survival and insight, and you will get the benefits or the feat options of Alert, Sentinel, Sharpshooter, or Inspiring Leader. And the same system in terms of sending NPCs to battle, though ideally this would be battles against evil and not other factions, but it's your campaign, do what you want. And you can read more details about all these when you check out the link below. Lastly, jobs. Jobs are activities that can be utilized during downtime with gathering resources and crafting items from them. These items can be used or traded within the world. Game masters, dungeon masters, you will need to choose the extent of numbers and how this works. This is a very open and broad system because I haven't really been able to playtest a system like this. So there's not really any numbers behind it. It's just general ideas that during your players' downtimes they could do to create, potions for battle or better armor or weapons, or just make a lot more money if they want to go like a mercantile route in terms of how they play the campaign. It's really up to you. This is open. So there's three jobs. There's smiths, chemists, and craftsmen. Smiths focus on gathering ores and that kind of stuff to craft armors and weapons and potentially magically infuse them. Chemists are focused on cooking and alchemy and that kind of stuff to make potions or food and tinctures to boost health, stats, whatever, or maybe even Azoth. And the craftsmen are focused on a large supply of wood and jewels to create beautiful trinkets and master furniture and that kind of route. And that would be more so focused on creating better personal homes or making a lot of money on the market, be able to sell these items to NPCs and gain more income. So that's how the jobs work. Again, it's a very open system, so bear with me on that, on how it works, but that's the kind of the core rundown. And yeah, that's the system. I'm sorry, this was a longer video than I originally planned, but I wanted to walk through everything. Again, be sure to check it out. We will be having a campaign in this setting for those interested. You can check that out. It should be on this YouTube page, so make sure to like and subscribe and all that fun stuff. And let me know what your thoughts are on this system, where I messed up, where I went right, wrong. If you try it out, please, please, please let me know what you think of it when you do. That would mean a lot. And yeah, I will hopefully get some feedback from you guys. If not, I will catch you on the Aeternum when the new World game launches. Peace out.